All right, start up. So today we'll be talking about the situation around Bakhmut. We'll be talking about Russian attacks that have been taking place near Vuhledar, and I'll explain what's going on there. And we're also gonna talk about Iran if I find time for it. Uh, Actually, I should ask if Comrade is way more to say about it. But anyway, hello, what's up? Hi, Herando, how are you doing? And thoughts on the Laser Pig Lyra debate? Not much of a debate, let's be real. Like Gonzalo Lyra knows nothing about nothing. What was his fucking deal? What was his wasn't he was a kind of personality before this, right? Like he had some weird like feminists wrecked type of name, right? Very entertaining. Made Gonzo uh rage quit. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean I could I've only watched a few like highlights, and the fact that like uh calling the fucking IFV, the Bradley, a Jeep. Very. Yeah, it was dating coach. What was his name? What was his previous name? Coach Disres. No. What's his name? Let me actually exit Steam because get very annoying. Out of here. Coach Red Pill. There you are. You're correct. It is Coach Red Pill. Yeah, what a fucking. I mean, that's what we should be calling him. Hello, Ford. How are you? The Bradley's a Jeep. I want a Jeep. Fuck. I mean, let's be real. In like every imaginable application, having a Bradley would probably be very annoying as opposed to having a regular car. But you'd have a lot of storage space, and you'd be very intimidating on the road. I don't think anybody would honk at you. You know, you could fucking wreck them with an like some like guy like you know, fucking honks at you, and you just destroy their car with an ATGM. You know, sounds like a plan. How's grad school treating you? I hope you're not crushed from all the work. So I finished my pre-master now, and at the moment I don't have anything to do. I am waiting on the master to start in earnest, which will happen on the 6th of February. So for the next few days, I'll still be good. Gas mileage might suck, but traffic jams are. That's true. Nobody's ever gonna argue with you, like driving a Bradley around. Goes for about pretty much. All right. Ah, we got some people. Quite a few people actually. I tried to dress up nice today, you know, since I was streaming. I thought might be good. Alright, so what has happened in the past few days? So, in effect, when I last streamed, Soledar was looking real precarious, and pretty much the next morning, the Ukrainians had pulled out of the city. And here in the north of Soledar, what happened over the past week or two is, you know, once the Russians had captured the city, they pushed out to take these suburbs around. I think first they pushed out to take the Seal train station over here. And their goal was basically crossing the river, reaching the highway over here, and you know, eventually breaking out north and south on the highway. And by controlling the highway over here, that gives them an excellent platform to first of all Siversk, but they won't really do that right now. And also take the settlements around here in order to cut off other roads supply that are supplying Bakhmut. What did you link? No. So let me show you actually. Sec. Open. I don't know what it is. I still haven't opened it. Let me see what it. Uh, I didn't. Harlem. Not gonna play that. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me. You all can hear me nice, right? The adjustment that I did to the sound is good now. And I hope. All right, all right. Yeah, we can. I hope. All right. So, apart from these gains that the Russians made over suburbs, taking all the salt mines in Soledar, quite a bit of fighting around salt mine number 7, but out. Thing is, like with these, once Soledar had fallen, these like Ukrainian suburban positions here, uh, they didn't have many good ways to be supplied because any movement, you know, along the highway for supply lines would be disrupted by the Russians who have the high ground. The Russians over here are on the high ground. So essentially, all this position is on the higher ground compared to the main road over here. If you take up a topographic map, well, Soledar is relatively low. The Russians capturing Soledar and these heights over here. There's but by taking these heights over here, they had options to fire on the railway line and highway across Soledar. Hit any approaching supply. So they could really only supply it from Bakhmut and look around this area. There aren't that many roads that could supply like these Ukrainian positions. So that's why this defensive position fell, because like supplying it like from south and from north, and the roads had become untenable. So now the Ukrainians have readjusted and they're defending a new position, not a new, a relatively new, closer to Bakhmut, which is this position here, which is the position around Razolivka, no, sorry, Paraskovivka and Krasnohora. This position here is essentially the last major obstacle for the Russians in the north of Bakhmut. And the Ukrainians do have a few things going for them. For example, let's mark light green. They have in Krasnohora some warehouses and high-rise buildings and hide behind. They have green belts here, which are some forests, which can provide some cover. From the north, not as much, but still there are some trees and forested areas that can provide some cover from Russian approaches down here direction. And And then there's the train loading stations and the high-rise buildings around Paraskovia. So those are the main defensive area. And I'm guessing the railway embankment, which runs along here. So some, some defense can be provided in areas. It's not gonna be. Alright, Len A7 says, hi, I want to offer. Ah, fuck. No, say anything interesting. Get out of here. How the. Bye. This was a nice choice, but it's actually. Let me. Ugh. Very professional streamer. Ugh. Ugh. Need to figure out how the chat works. Cool. Alright, so let's continue here. So there are some decent defensive positions, but I'm worried that this area is not, not that defensible. So I think that the Russians will assault this next. And what does this mean? So let me explain what the problem perspective defending Bakhmut is. Let's draw some lines. So these, let's say, are the main supply lines, right? So supply into Bakhmut, let's say you're bringing it from Sloviansk, right? You have your here. Let's say, let's make it yellow. Not yellow, yellow. Let's make actually, yeah, there we go. Nice purple. Yeah, nice purple color. Right, so you have your supply point in Sloviansk, have a supply point in Konstantinka, and now you want to supply Bakhmut. Which roads flow from these 2 points into. So the main supply line is to flow into Bakhmut. First of all, there's the railways and there's the highways, right? So the highways supplying Bakhmut, there is the here, other maps. Say you're supplying here and into the defense of Bakhmut. Let's make this line. That's one supply line, right? Make another one. It's this road, which is actually, yeah, there's the canal here and the road that's coming like along with. Smart. Road here along the canal can be used again to supply Bakhmut because it leads down all the way to Chasiv Yar, and then from Chasiv Yar turn and it goes into Bakhmut. That's another way to supply the city. Yep. His mother is an inside joke. I hope he gets this, sees this video. Let's add Chasov Yar as a supply point. Bakhmut. Is this avenue then? There are some roads. Maybe you add those. Looking basically for ways to supply the city relatively and highlighting the road network. Realize basically the Russians they're trying to do is cut supply to the city. So the way they're gonna be doing this is by reaching these roads, cutting them. The artillery can hit these roads no problem, but the thing is you can't just pepper it with and hope that supply will stop flowing. You have all these fields around, you can avoid the artillery time. If you don't have direct visual on the roads, it's going to be hard to cut off supply. And even with direct visual, Ukrainians have often been quite content to run the gauntlet. If you look especially at fights around Lotte, back when was that? May, June, July, something like that. No, it was May, I think. Right, another supply line here. Right, supply line. There. My voice keeps cutting out. Maybe the noise gate is too high. Perhaps. Check. Crap, why did I decide to experiment with a noise gate now? Oh, yeah, there, I see it. Yeah, let me edit the... Eight. Okay. Uh, is that better? I don't know if that's... Is that better? Is that better? Don't know. Is that better? I mean, I hope I'm not cutting out. No cutting out right now. I mean, I don't know. I can't see it. Okay. Yeah, no, this is a bit better probably. Let's see. Sorry, I'm fiddling with right now it seems okay. All right. Yeah, yeah. I think that's good. I think that's good. Can you hear? Let's see if we can hear the keyboard actually. If I mash it, yeah. Okay. I think that's fine for now. And if there's any problems, just let me know. All right? Cool. Okay. So, I think that's the main supply lines covered. Am I missing any major roads? Seems to be a road here. No, that's a railway. That's the railway embankment. Turns around here. I mean, I guess I don't know if Bakhmut can be supplied by rail, but let's add the railway. I don't think the Ukrainians would risk locomotives for such a short trip. And so close to the front line. So that's the railway. And it goes into the train station. Don't know. I mean, this bridge can be cut. I don't think this is being used right now, but let's add it just for good measure. Come on, select it. There we are. I'll change the color to signify that this one is a bit different. Okay. Then there's the railway. Are there any roads I'm missing? How long does a normal load hold when so many tracked vehicles and heavy truck are driving on it? How does a normal road hold when so many tracked vehicles? So a road that is that has asphalt on it is fine usually. Like even driving tanks on it is fine. So it's usually bridges and dirt roads that you have to worry about. Dirt roads, when tracked vehicles drive on them, they tend to get degraded pretty quickly. So, you know, like these dirt roads here, these are not enough. They don't provide enough throughput to fully supply a position as big as Bakhmut. So, you know, if you want to count these in, like, it's gonna be a struggle to supply the city. So if we're looking at the overall, let me delete that. I don't think the Ukrainians are using that. So looking at the overall situation, do we realize the problem? Right? The Russians are moving around Klishivka. You know, we got news around Klishivka, and they're trying to assault Krasnahora from Soledar. And I was describing before, you know, marking in green, the position around Krasnahora. Let me make it blue. The Ukrainian position around Krasnahora is the last major northern position. Alright? So, the Russians are already in eye shot of this road here. So, this road is probably next to unusable right now for driving trucks and tanks on to supply the city. So with this supply line essentially compromised, right? Or very soon to be compromised, because I believe the Russians will take this position soonish probably, because they seem to have the initiative here. The main supply left is from the south. Now, the road in Ivanivske, we've already got reports from Ukrainian sources claiming attacks on Ivanivske. Which means, you know, and if we look at the topographic map, Ivanivske, so this is Krasnahora, Bakhmut. If we zoom in, look at Ivanivske. The Russians are here, right north of Klishivka. That's where their position is. And the road supplying in is running here. Let's mark it. The Ukrainian supply road into Bakhmut is here. So, as you can see, it's a bit lower. And the Russians are already shelling it for sure, but they're probably also at eye shot of it. And it's likely that this supply road is fast becoming unusable as well. So, would the Russians go straight for Sloviansk after Bakhmut, or would they go after Chasiv Yar first? Chasiv Yar is much closer, and Chasiv Yar is very important. If you see, Chasiv Yar is the high point out of all the hills. So essentially, the Ukrainians have this whole defensive position before Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. It's these hills here, right? Let me explain. So the Ukrainians have their position around Bakhmut, their position around Krasnahora still, and their position around Siversk. They used to have the position around Soledar, but now that's gone. The Russians are here right now, around Kudrymovka, in front of Bakhmut, in front of Soledar, and actually quite a bit further back from Siversk. And they're pushing down onto Krasnahora, trying to threaten the sides of Bakhmut, and from Kudrymovka around Klishivka in this direction. This arrow is a bit wonky. Let's fix it. In this direction. So actually, for the secondary Ukrainian position, for the fallback position from Bakhmut, it is Chasiv Yar. So yeah, the Russians want to take Chasiv Yar, because if they take Chasiv Yar, they essentially break open the position of the Ukrainians, because if they take Chasiv Yar, then they can move along the hills and establish their positions in front of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, right? So yeah, I believe that they would try to take Chasiv Yar. I think that after Bakhmut, Chasiv Yar will be their target. Either that, or they will try to like finish off the position in Siversk. Try to take these hills here and try to threaten Siversk from the south. So that's what I think they'll try to do. Let me clean that up. Let's go back to what we were describing. So this road, again, is probably unusable at this point. The Ukrainians have also reported attacks on Stupovsky. This means that now or in a few days, so there's essentially, out of all these supply roads, the ones that are viable is the supply line that's moving from Chasiv Yar in here, and perhaps this supply line, this supply line that's supplying Chasiv Yar is also still viable, but that's only like a stepping stone. You could probably move some stuff through the fields, but it won't be that much. And the highway, which is now either cut or at the threat of being cut. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that, the Russians haven't taken Krasnahora yet, right? So let's say this road of supply is open. So supplies are flowing in here, flowing in here. Actually, this arrow, forget it. It's too close to the front. The Russians are already in Pidhorodne. They are assaulting Krasnahora right now. Okay? So you see why now the Russians are moving around here. They're trying to cut off the supply of the Ukrainians, and they're getting pretty close. If once the supply around Krasnahora, the defense around Krasnahora falls, which I think it will probably in the next week or two, give or take. I think that, the Russians are gonna probably establish a foothold here. So in something like this. And then try to push down south. And this road of supply will become unusable. And then there'll be one road left to move trucks and heavy heavy supply vehicles through. And it is that road. When there's only one road left, that means the Russians can focus it down. And the Ukrainians will have to do their best, well, to either decide that, they're moving out. So how do I explain? Alright, let's redraw some of this. So right now, I think for the defense of the supply line into Bakhmut, the position around Krasnahora is one of the most important ones, because it protects this supply line. And the position around Ivanivske is important, because even though it no longer, so this up a bit. Let me restate. So the position around Krasna Hora is very important because it protects this supply line. The position around Ivanivske, although it no longer, protects this supply line because the Russians are too close, it still protects the supply line from Chasiv Yar. So I believe that if the Russians break these two positions, the Krasna Hora position or the position around Ivanivske, then it's essentially game over. The Ukrainians will have to move out. If there's only one road of supply left, if this is cut, and the and the Russians are in these forests here, and they are in eye shot of these roads, it means that the Ukrainians will have to either pull out or risk starving, getting encircled, like some serious problems for the garrison of Bakhmut. So that's all I really have to share. Like if this position around Krasna Hora falls, the Russians might even move from here towards the road that's in that goes through Ivanivske. What's that? Hornove? Whatever. Okay, so that's essentially the end game for Bakhmut. It's the Russian pincer from the north breaking through Krasna Hora, or the Russian pincer from the south breaking in Ivanivske. That's simple as it can get. Alright, so let's answer some questions. Question here is about a Wagner culmination point. At one point it cannot be avoided. Oh, Nikopol, hello. How are you doing? I mean, in my opinion, yeah, eventually there's gonna be a culmination for Wagner, but I don't think it's gonna come before Bakhmut falls. And I'm guessing that apart from recruiting prisoners, they're probably, recruiting other volunteers, people that find, the prospect of going to Wagner attractive. If the Russians can mobilize more, some people will choose, the Russians will, I think, most definitely offer the choice to go into Wagner. And I think a lot of people will pick that choice, thinking that Wagner will provide them with better equipment or better training. So, if you'd rather be, a trainee with Wagner or a Mobik in the Russian infantry, you might choose Wagner. So, I think it's not easy to call what the culmination point for Wagner is going to be. And as for their casualties, it seems the brunt of those casualties have been on the prisoners. And in terms of prisoners, yeah, they're probably running out. I mean, they might be able to mobilize maybe, I don't know, like 10, 20, 30,000 more, even though there's few 100,000 Russian prisoners. Not all of them are going to be in shape, in the right age, like in the right health conditions. They're not going to be necessarily like decent, or like Wagner won't even want them. A lot of them are going to be in for like a lesser amount of time. For some, it's going to be mandatory eventually, but yeah, the culmination point of Wagner, it is hard to know. Alright, is that the Bakhmut will become Verdun? Is that me, Bakhmut? You need to write your questions better. Is that me, or Bakhmut will become the Verdun of Ukraine? Verdun is a bit excessive. It's a big battle. Don't get me wrong. It's probably one of the biggest battles since Mariupol. It involves more troops than the Battle of Mariupol. But I would hesitate to call it like Verdun level. We'll see. I would guess that if Bakhmut falls, the Verdun of Ukraine would probably be Sloviansk. Right, is that me? Okay, yeah, we got that question. How many people are on each side in this area? I think there's around. Okay, actually, let's count. Let me give me a second. Close the screen. and find that. Deployment map. Oh no. Why did I look it up this way? Military land. Where is their site? Militaryland.net. Deployment map. There we are. Found it. Alright. Let me show you. I think if you go here, you see the position around Bakhmut. You have 77th Air Mobile, 17th Tank, the 46th Air Mobile Brigade behind Soledar, elements of the 4th Tank Brigade, again Mechanized Battalion, 101st, 63 Mechanized Brigade. So let's count the brigades in this area. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are so 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 57th again. No, it is once. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, that's a battalion. So 14. So counting like the brigades in this area alone, let's say 15. Like this could be easily 50,000 men, 60,000 men. All right. It is the same there in Vuhledar. Essentially, a force Zaluzhny to deploy reserves so he can't keep them in the rear until they're trained and kitted with Western equipment. I think that is part of the reason why the attacks of the Russians have been lacking mass, in my opinion. Like, a lot of artillery, but in terms of what they're actually sending in, a lot of them are lacking mass. Even the pretty intense attacks around Vuhledar, and we'll talk about that. Just keep wondering if your name is Richard or George. It's George, my first name. Corps Wagner is highly professional veteran outfit, but it's enabled by its human waves. Yeah, the prisoners. It's a bit more complicated than that. Without the latter, the former is not unable to do operations, and they do to pretty great effectiveness. So mostly wonder about culmination later. So yeah, to an extent, there I think that if they're not, I imagine some people will be conscripted into Wagner. They might use some mobwics to do that, but it will be more politically costly than the prisoners. They won't be able to be sent in, you know, to the slaughter as easily. Well, you just put well. Question: will Wagner regular army increase in fighting? Okay, will the Wagner regular Russian army in fighting will increase further? You put will twice. I don't know. I have no idea on that. Honestly, the politics of the Kremlin are kind of like weird. They kind of escape me. Do the Bakhmut defenders have enough to counter battery radar equipment to clap the Russian artillery? The Ukrainians are still like a bit overmatched when it comes to artillery equipment. Unfortunately, they don't have enough to stop the Russian artillery. And if you listen to any videos, if you see any videos around Bakhmut, you can hear the constant banging of the Russian artillery. If their advantage isn't as big as it used to be, but it's still there. It is, and also the thing is, they don't want to be deploying their best artillery close because they, yeah, the Russians also have counter battery raiders, and they have those fucking Lancets roaming around hitting M777s. It's not an easy situation for the artillery. Um, you know. Uh, Nikopol, by the way, if you want to come on and chat, because I trust you to chat, I'd be happy to have you on even right now. We can talk about Vuhledar together if you like. Because I am done in terms of Bakhmut. There isn't much more to say. Like the Russian plan seems pretty straightforward. No idea how. I'll send a link to my server, and I will add you to a private call channel, private voice chat. Let me open that. Oh, actually, I shouldn't have the screen open for that. Give me a sec. All right. Okay. Actually, since we have a few people here, let me send an invite to the server. Do 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 do. 1 second. I keep forgetting how to do that shit. Create invite. Alright, there you are. Have you noticed Ukrainian units are using Western rifles like FAL or FAN 2000 and SCAR-L by Azov? Yeah, some people are using those. Honestly, I don't think the rifle, like what kind of rifle you use is that important. Most of the time it doesn't matter that much. Like the difference in rifle is very small. Like it might matter in some close range engagements, but like apart from that, um, unless you have something like vastly different, like a Mosin, I don't think like anybody would actually notice. Would have been nice to have those small diameter bombs, but I think Boeing Saab have not made them en masse yet. Yeah, the loitering munitions, uh, the small drones. All right. Oh, there's Nikopol. So let's add you. Convos 1-1. Nikopol. How the fuck do I do that? Right. Channel is private. Only select members and roles who can view this channel. Okay. So let's add this. So, alright. Can you join this, Nikopol? Let me know. I mean, I hope you can. Let's give him the... So add him as a friend and... give him a role. No roles. You need to Nikopol, you need to verify on the rules channel. I mean, I might actually just call you. I think that might be better. Well, add trusted and member. Oh, there you are. You're muted. Yeah, you're in the chat now, but you are muted. Do do do. Oh, you can of course send me a message or so. Okay, there's some more discussion here. Do the Bakhmut defenders not have enough to enter? Yeah, no idea how. How many of the 140 M777s are still left? 2/3 or more or less. 1/4 are confirmed destroyed or damaged by Oryx, and probably some of them are going to be out of action for repairs in general, because they are getting pretty heavily used. So I'd imagine around half of them are in action at any given time. Have you noticed Ukrainian? Yeah. Would have been nice to have those new. Okay, okay, that's it then. Nikopol, I can't hear you. Oh, you unmuted? Hello? Can you hear me? Is there something wrong? I don't know why I can't hear you. Oh, still muted. I'm guessing you're figuring out the audio. That's fine. I'll hear you when you speak. Let me open the screen. Right, so I think the situation around Bakhmut we've wrapped up, and now my map becomes less useful because there is really not much more here. I haven't modeled the rest of the front. Might remove these later, might not. I think they're pretty illustrative. Okay. Deep state map. This is the area around Vuhledar. And I think the Ukrainians might still have positions in these warehouses because the Russians were shelling them. I still can't hear you, Nikopol. Do you want me to give you a call, like on the, like personally? Might do that. I think I'm supposed to push something to talk. Could be Alt. You can look at it in the settings. You can find your sound settings. I mean, you also need to have a mic or headphones at least. So you see, like, voice and streamer mode enabled. Thank you, Discord, for not showing everything. I think voice and video. See, here you can see your push to talk. Wasting elite marines and other naval infantry in Vuhledar seems legit. Yeah, it's like amazing Russian tactics 101. But yeah, they seem to be pretty stubborn.
Okay, what about now? Does it work now?
Yeah, it does. Hello. How are you, my friend? Good to talk to you. It worked for a bit, but now I can't hear you again. So you'll probably have to press whatever you pressed, or fiddle with your settings a bit. Okay, I'll leave you figure it out when you talk to me. Just, I don't know, let me know. We heard him for a second. Yeah, I know you heard him for a second. It's on screen, right? Yeah, it is. Oh, God. There we are. Yeah, I don't know why the deep state map is always so blurry. I would like it to be a bit less blurry, but at least you can see everything in terms of like roads and water lines. They're all marked. Oh, there, I heard you for a bit. Something might be up with your mic. I don't know. Maybe not connecting very well. You can see also like the green outline around your name, so when you speak you can tell whether or not you're being heard.
Now, for some reason, every time I stop pushing the Alt to talk, I have to go back to the settings and set up the Alt to talk in order to use Alt to talk. So it's a very useful application, or maybe I'm doing something wrong.
You can set it up as a noise gate. You can say set it up with voice activity and like move the slider around to see what's comfortable. I mean, that's what I use. I'm not pushing to talk.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I mean, but now I can hear you well. So.
Yeah, I'm keeping the finger on the button, so now it works. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
All right, all right. So, what do you think of all these attacks that have been going on around Vuhledar? I mean, basically, what the Russians are doing, they're pushing, I think, from Miliske through the dachas and trying to get into the town, but they're getting like
Yeah.
fucked by the artillery every time.
Yeah, because they don't really have an option. The Vuhledar is, first of all, it's a small mining town-ish, full of, well, high rises. By high rises, I mean they have like 5 to 6 stories tall, but still a high rise. And as a bonus, is on top of the kind of a hill, let's say a ridge. So it's a strategic position which oversees even the Pavlivka to the south and to others. And I think that's a combination of two things which they are doing. The first of all is what they try to do when they attack Pavlivka. Fortunately, Khodakovsky, who is one of the DNR commanders, he talks a lot. And he basically, after what happened in Pavlivka, which was, I wouldn't even call it a Pyrrhic victory because it wasn't a victory at all. They just got fucked for basically no land gains at all. Their initial idea was to have a larger push, a larger offensive across the Vuhledar sector, in order to push the Ukrainians kilometers to dozens of kilometers away, in order to secure the railway line that runs from Donetsk all the way to Mariupol. They currently don't have a railway line that would go from Russia to the south that doesn't go through the Crimea, so that's a pain in the ass. And they technically do have it, but it's so close to the front line that even the mortar teams can just shell it, so it's unusable. So that's what they were trying to do, but they fucked it up because you had a bunch of commanders who were going on for the glory, and even though they didn't have the units and the strength and everyone knew it, they just decided the medals are more important, all charge, hurrah, and it ended with the Ukrainians kind of being pushed out from Pavlivka, which by itself is not really a large town, it's a village.
And it's on the low
Even
ground, so like pushing them out of Pavlivka, it's like pushing you out of a forward position in
Yeah, and
effect.
so what happened when they entered Pavlivka after, first of all, being hitting every single minefield the Ukrainians planted and hitting every single artillery round, they found that some inner Pavlivka, which is completely overlooked by the Vuhledar, and you had the Ukrainians there with the Stugna piece, with the ATGMs, with the drones, and they were just hitting them with everything. So they had to pull out. The Pavlivka essentially became a gray zone. No one entered in because anyone who tried to enter in anything more than a reconnaissance team would just get hit immediately. So, what's the point?
Yeah.
So you need to take the Vuhledar. Without the Vuhledar, it doesn't make sense. You just cannot take anything. They're trying to do it, and the reason why they're going through the fields is because there's nothing else there.
I mean, yeah, there isn't much option, and the thing is, they don't really control the any other part of the ridge. They're quite far,
Yeah.
like the entire ridge that Vuhledar sits on. I don't know if you can see my screen, but I have a topographic map on the entire let me paint that in blue. Basically, the entire ridge that Vuhledar sits on is out of Russian control at the moment. Their closest position, that is in where is it? Solodke. Wait, let's see. Which is basically like on the other direction. Vladimirovka, Solodke, like those are on the same ridge, but they are like quite far if you actually look at where they are on the map. So Vladimirovka, Solodke, yeah. So I think really their only option is to push from the side of Solidar and trying to get in through the Duchess. Sure, I mean it's the faster way,
Yeah,
but they
then
can't
you're on.
establish their positions there.
Yeah, but then you're on an open field, basically just trying to march through, and you're gonna get hit by artillery. 1 meter after another. Air Force dropping unguided bombs and everything. It's gonna be that slaughterhouse which you see in those, not really that big of a field between the Pavlivka and the Vuhledar, but times 10. So that's not really an option for them as well. So either you do it this way, or everything else is going to be more painful because your biggest problem is they have the kind of observatory position, and
Yeah.
they can see you from miles away, and they can direct the artillery and ATGMs and everything on you. So they're trying to skim it through with the BMPs And with the tanks, what happens? They get hit by the ATGM, they get hit by the artillery. So most logical option would be to do what Wagner is doing in Bakhmut, but the problem is you have a regular Russian army there. You cannot treat them the same way the Wagner is treating their prisoners, which are most of the Sturmy Corps.
Yeah, yeah. The thing
That's
is,
what happened in Pavlivka when their brigade, basically the Kamchatka Marines Brigade, well, they didn't revolt, but let's say they made quite a lot of fuss.
mm,
They made a public announcement and public pleas to the governors of the Primoyarsky Krai, and Moscow had to intervene and basically died down afterwards. They claimed the victory over Pavlivka, the village that no one controlled. So,
yeah.
and they lost ton of people for it, for basically nothing. So they cannot do it again. They have to take it.
I don't know if
This
you
is
saw,
the
but
only way.
I had made a post that I thought that the Russians would move to take so instead of going directly from south north to Vuhledar or through the Dachas, the short route, I thought that they would take the long route and try to use the tree lines to get to the mine that's north of Vuhledar. I thought that they would take this position because there is the mine in Vuhledar is it it can provide a position to attack, and it cuts off one of the roads that leads into Vuhledar. I mean the main road that leads into Vuhledar and supplies Vuhledar. But it seems that they're not picking that option because here's the thing: even though like the attack through the Dutches is very costly, and they can see you directly, from the high-rise buildings. The Ukrainians can see you from the high-rise buildings, and you don't have much other choice. I mean, if you're gonna push through the Dutches, you have to grab a foothold into the town. Uh, and even if it's costly, if you do grab a foothold, then it will become easier to actually attack further in. It will be much harder for the artillery to attack you without threatening their own troops.
Yeah, the
So
Dutchess do provide you a bit of a cover. So if you manage to get to Dutchess through that field and the artillery shelling, at least you can hide yourself in some one of these cottages or something. You
as
are
an
not stuck in the
infantryman,
middle of a field with a dick in your hand. So
yeah, exactly. As an infantryman, perhaps, but you can't really hide vehicles. And then if the vehicles get fucked for the Russians, so let's say you're a Russian infantryman now in a positions in the Dacha, it's hard to supply you. And I mean, you can see from the deep state map. I mean, they assess that that's the forward position. It's in the Dachas. Then if you have to attack on foot without like real vehicle support, you have the problem of the Ukrainian fucking like infantryman that's sitting in the forward buildings, basically like World War I, like at eye level, just fucking machine gunning anybody who's trying to push across the street.
yeah, to be honest, like I think it's they obviously don't. The Russians obviously didn't bring enough the force posture in order just to sweep it. Like the logical thing is, if you want Vuhledar that much, you just bring overwhelming power and just get on with it. And since we can kind of see the results for a couple of days, and they moved a couple of dachas in the south, they managed to penetrate to the north. Last I heard, they got kicked out of there. It seems like either they're doing the same stupidity as they did in Pavlivka, which in case of Russia is always possible, or it's a bait.
Yeah, the possibility of it being a bait trying to draw reserves away. I think that the Ukrainians are probably they have likely deployed reserves to counter the threat. With the fucking attack in Okrihiv, which wasn't like very significant at all. Uh, they they're they're probably deploying reserves around Vuhledar. They're probably deploying reserves around Bakhmut. I'm guessing that the Russians are trying to stretch them out, but I don't know where the Russians are planning a big push if that's the case. And I don't think they're ready for one yet. I mean, I think
Yeah,
maybe late February, but I don't think now.
there was an article today by one of the researchers from the Rusi,
Hmm.
and this is one of the organizations that I actually take quite seriously. They have a history of getting things right. And it was a short article, so it didn't really go into details. But his main argument was that he thinks what the Gerasimov is right now doing, these small offensives. I don't mean the Bakhmut, it's Wagner job, even though the Gerasimov is trying to get a claim for that. But in Zaporizhia, in Vuhledar, maybe somewhere else in a couple of days or weeks, is to bait Zaluzhny into deploying the reserves that he has in the deep rear, somewhere in the west. That he's trying to equip and kit and train for the new brigades he's trying to raise with Western equipment, the one which was promised in Ramstein, and maybe other which will come, and trying to bleed him dry in order to deny him the option to assault come probably April with a fresh batch of basically completely rested, unscratched several brigades with completely new armor and IFVs and, well, kick him out. So that's one of the option.
I mean, I
So that's
think
the
that
problem.
that will probably be. Uh, I think if that was the case and Zaluzhny, actually takes that option, thinks, oh, it's too critical in Vuhledar or whatever. We'll have that confirmed if we actually see, Leopards make it to the front before late spring, because
Yeah,
that's when I think we would actually see Leopards at the front. Because right now they're probably training on them still, and they will likely be trying to kit brigades. If we see Leopards piecemeal across the front, then that's actually a bad sign. We want to see them like in singular units,
with
being
Martyrs and
yeah,
Bradleys, yeah.
exactly. That's what we want to see. Like if we start seeing Leopards, that's a bad thing. If we
Yeah,
start seeing them too
yeah.
often.
Right now we are still in a process of kind of a gathering them.
Yeah.
So the be it United States or the Ukrainian officials, they're going from the country to country. How many do you have them? How many can you provide? And kind of a pick. As far as I know, the Leopard training didn't even maybe it started in Poland, but even that you would have a couple of tank crews. It didn't get like a full gear. Like the one for the Challengers started. I think the United Kingdom Ministry of Defense they posted it only like yesterday that the first troops have arrived to start training on the Challengers. So
Oh
it will all take a
Christ.
while.
Yeah, man. The thing is, like, the fact that there are already a lot of experienced tankmen, from Ukraine will help them train faster. But then again, it is a different platform. It's not gonna be that easy to get experienced crews
Yeah,
quickly.
the Leopard enables them, especially the commander, to do much more than on the T-72s or T-64s, and that commander will need to be knowledge how to utilize these advantages which the Leopard provides over the platform he was used on. Like no one doubts that a driver of a T-72 can drive Leopard 2, and it will really not take him that much of a long time to figure that out. Or the gunner will also like learn it, but I think the most critical part will be the commander
Yeah.
and who will be like deeply familiar with the platform and all that it allows him to do. And also like especially for the officers, for the colonels and the generals, how to utilize these these Leopards, these Martyrs, these Bradleys, and so on, to effectively integrate it into these brigade and into their strategy in order to harness basically their potential. Because if you smash the tank for some Vuhledar or something like that, and then it gets destroyed by Cornet, like what was the point?
Yeah. No, you
You need
don't
to
want
think
to
bigger.
deploy them like Turkey.
Yeah.
Did
And
you
then,
hear about the Greeks sending leopards?
I just saw it today. I didn't know if it's a joke or not.
I don't know. I mean, I will check the evening news, because if that's the case, we will hear it on the evening news.
Yeah, because the Greeks are the last one together with Turks I would expect to send anything, given how the Greeks are self-conscious about the Mviabi Turks, especially after the last couple of years that what they've been doing around the Aegean Islands.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
man, you've seen how, like, compared to other, like, a lot of other European armies, just how heavily equipped like the
yeah,
Greeks are compared to like a lot of the other ones.
yeah, let's remember back 10 years ago when every second German was saying how the Greece should just sell off half of the army to pay debt. And yeah, no, here we are.
I think that they're probably not asking us anymore.
But
Yeah.
as for the Russian offensive, I'm like 70% sure it's coming. I'm not completely because I think still it's idiotic. The problem with that, especially, is that they have absolutely no answer for the NATO ISR capabilities. They want to make a large offensive. NATO's gonna know about it long time before anyone gets an order. Like that's a fact. That happened
Yeah.
already. That happened several times. So if they're gonna do offensive, they're gonna have to do offensive to the point that it doesn't even matter if the Ukrainians know it. At which point they uh, it's a high risk. It's extremely high risk to attrition yourself to oblivion, like they did in Donbass in summer.
Mm.
But I think there's a political shit going on in the background, especially Gerasimov, because you know him replacing Surovikin. It was quite unexpected. Gerasimov was kind of a seen as a absolute failure and loser, and suddenly he's back in charge. So, and I think there's a demand on him. You got to win territory.
Mm.
The old fuck needs to be happy, and he's happy when he sees the map and he sees the borders on the map moving. So you're gonna deliver him somehow. And yeah, I was talking to a guy. Uh, I was talking about it for a while, but for example, you don't see any mobilization in Russia of the military-industrial sector. You see the companies working on double or sometimes triple shifts, but that's it. You don't see opening any new lines. You don't see any new headhunting. You see absolutely fucking nothing that could enable them to make a large offensive, supply that large offensive, and keep on pushing until destruction of the enemy formation.
Some things are a bit different. I mean, apart from the working double shifts and everything, I mean, I don't know if you saw like the last Perun video was pretty good, explaining like, oh yeah, I mean, you know, the T62 thing, like taking out, it's not 800 T62s, I know, but like they got factories that were not working essentially to start working again on certain projects, like, you know, modernizing T62s when that factory was probably gonna do nothing if they had not done that. Now, I don't know if they will mobilize further, but they have the capacity to. You know, there's a lot of discussion around where, like, a Russian offensive might come, and I don't believe for a second they will actually try to go for Lviv. I don't think that.
No, it will be like 90% Donbass.
You think
Basically,
Donbass?
build up on Wagner did in Bakhmut, try to get to Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. I think that for them is the only option that makes sense because if you attack from the south, you go where? What you
From
gonna do?
this,
Take a
from
Zaporizhia, you're not taking that
from
city.
from the south, I don't think either. Honestly, I think that it's either the south. You don't go for Zaporizhia, like you don't have much choice. I think they might go from, like, they might try to go for Pokrovske or Pavlovhard, like in front of the big cities. Then that's difficult. That's very difficult. But personally, I think that, like, like one of those viable, like, compared to Lviv, saying, like, I'm not saying that the Russians are in a position to do it now, but if it was me in the Russians' position, I would probably try to attack somewhere either on Sumy or between Sumy and Kharkiv, and try to dash for Kremenchuk. Because
And then
if
what? You're gonna paint a giant dildo on a map that's gonna get attrition and destroyed from both sides.
true to an extent, but that's the thing, right? Like, if I am like Russian general, I did this and I fucked my force up trying to do this, and I reached Potlava. At this point, I'm close to Kremenchuk. If I reach Kremenchuk, even if I take massive casualties on this attack, I have essentially cut off a huge amount of forces from Ukraine. They will have, like, if the Ukrainians feel like immensely threatened by such an attack, if there's any significant breakthrough, like, I think that if there's a breakthrough from, you know, from Sumy, or even if the Russians get close to Potlava, I think the Ukrainians would pull back a significant amount to avoid a potential encirclement.
The problem is you cannot because in Dnipro there's one bridge you are simply not taking down no matter what happens. Zaporizhia as well. These are hydroelectric dams, massive hydroelectric dams that have been built during the Soviet Union as part of bridge and kind of a rail in Dnieper River. So these were basically built up to sustain everything up to nuclear explosion. The bridge
I
opened.
don't know.
You're fucked.
I don't know. I mean, this is all theoretical. We're far away from any move like that.
Yeah.
Of course. So
I, because, like, from the political perspective, even if you would manage to take Poltava, which you're not taking, okay, what now? That's the only problem. The Slovians and Kramatorsk, if you go back, you can go back to Russia and say, because Sloviansk and Kramatorsk are natural culmination of the Donbass offensive. You take them, you can kind of declare it over. You're just mopping up some small towns, villages that no one cares about, and to be honest, no one ever heard about. But everyone, especially among the Russian nationalists and those who are heavily invested in, they all know what Sloviansk is,
yeah.
and they have a big boner for it. So this is something that you can sell as a massive, both military and political victory to those who doubt you and who doubt the war, which in Russian elite circles is a lot of people.
Yeah, I think honestly, if they were able to take Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, like if they were able to actually, reach and take that and take m most of Donbass, I think they would try to negotiate some kind of peace.
Yeah, well, that's difficult to tell. It doesn't seem like they have an off ramp and they're kind of making it up as they go, but this is something they need internally. You
Yeah.
just cannot be stuck in a Bakhmut and or even Chasiv Yar. They need Sloviansk. Sloviansk has been the where it all started. As far as they are concerned, it all started in Sloviansk with the Girkin and
Yeah.
with his militia.
I mean, pretty much. I think that like Donbass itself is like a political must for them.
Yeah, like even like politically, they are because all right, they are not taking Kiev anymore. They're not changing government in
No.
Ukraine anymore. They're not the military is in Ukraine. None of that shit is going to happen, and you need a massive amount of crocodile to believe there's any chance in how that will ever happen. So all right, that's not happening. You need to do something. You need to win something. Donbass, it's the one you just have to bring back home.
Hmm.
That's like United States invading Iraq and not taking Baghdad. Like, why the fuck did you go to that?
Yeah.
Who cares about Melitopol in Russia? No one.
Mm.
But especially among the nationalist circles, they do care about Sloviansk.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. Honestly, and I think that like we're going to be going to 2024 if you ask me. I don't think this war will finish this year.
I think, well, it's hard to say because especially it will all depend on internal processes in not just both countries, Russia and Ukraine, but also like in a world much larger than that, be it Europe, United States, China, India. No one really wants this war to continue, especially not to escalate, and it's gonna escalate. It's just like no way around it. And I don't know, things could happen. There's way too many potential black swans in the air to make like a definitive call.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Like a lot of people were basically declaring the war over like back in September, October, and I said, well, no, we have a long way to go. And I honestly think we might make it into 2024, like 2 years.
I'm gonna do the same prediction I did 9 months ago, 8 months ago. This war ends when Putin dies.
You
In
think?
what, in which manner he dies or how, I don't know, but it ends with that.
Well, my
That's my
prediction
overall prediction.
my prediction back like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, when the stalemate had started to really set in Donbass. I thought that the war would end in some kind of DMZ, like some weird thing like Korea, like some weird ceasefire happens and then the war is just frozen. um, that's what I thought then, and I don't know if that'll change. I mean, if the Ukrainians manage to pull off their southern offensive, reach Melitopol, reach Berdyansk, like a massive breakthrough there, which honestly, with the amount of defense being built up by the Russians, I think that it will, like, even if it does happen, it'll be a very bloody affair. Uh, it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, actually, the funny kind of thing because I don't know if you remember, but it was in November, I think. I mentioned that during the winter, probably for the Ukrainians, what would be the best? It's not go to any offensive as some people predicted, which I don't think we can. We can kind of now be certain that it's not happening. But for
Oh
the
no.
Ukrainians to use winter to attrition Russian forces, especially the newly arrives, take advantage of the subpar kit they deployed, especially to the Mobiks, but also like general degradation of the Russian army equipment that we see in order to enable for the Melitopol offensive to even have a chance to be successful. So if Gerasimov is now throwing at troops like an idiot in these baits on the Vuhledar and Orhiu and whatever name of the village is next to Zaporizhia,
Hmm.
just wasting troops for nothing because he hopes the Zaluzhny takes a bait. Well, yeah, he's kind of a doing job for them now.
All right. I mean, I guess we'll see. I
Yeah,
wonder. I
It's
want.
not like it can be easy. There's a large fortification built around Tokmak all
Yeah.
the way to Melitopol. But the key point is if the Ukrainians would manage somehow bloodily, with high casualties, take Melitopol, I just think the war is over at that point.
I mean, I agree. I think
Like
that
not like over the fighting stuffs, but like strategic objectives by the Russia failed. Period. It's
yeah,
done.
yeah. No, I 100% agree on that. I mean, and I think the Russians know this. That's why they're building up with
Yeah.
such vigor around these areas. They're preparing. I mean, and the Ukrainians are signaling that that's gonna be their next big offensive. I don't think it's gonna be Luhansk. I think it's gonna be that direction.
The Luhansk isn't asked for an offensive because it's from north to south,
Oh,
crisscrossed by
yeah,
several rivers, marshes, and so on. So going from the west to east axis, that's not easy at all. And to be honest, that this northern part of Luhansk, there's nothing of importance there at all. Like, yeah, sure, you raise a flag over a city, it's a big moral boost, and but all right, you took a Starobilsk. Now what?
yeah. The thing is, like the big towns, like they're behind this fortified zone. Both Luhansk and Donetsk, they're behind
Yeah.
this like massive fortified zone, and that like where the border was. And I think that like pushing into there would like compared to the casualties that any offensive in Zaporizhia would incur, it would be like 5 times that for an offensive on Luhansk and Donetsk.
Well, the
Um,
Ukrainians do have still one large offensive, and once again, that's because NATO is their deep rear,
yeah.
and they can war game these things. They can. I know that there's an argument if the war is a numbers game or if it's an art. You know, the Russian classical, the science of war, but should they still they did it in Kharkiv, they did it in Kherson. They know what their force posture is, they know what they can afford, and the NATO ISR pretty much can does know what forces does Russian have in one or another sector, what they can do, and they can simulate a lot of these things. These are not perfect, but they give you an overall kind of a good assessment, so you don't go foolishly into well bullshit.
Yeah. The thing is, there are though, like there are political, there are political constraints for the Ukrainians as well. They for them, internally politically, they want to continue fighting to liberate territory. If the war freezes too much too long, it's not gonna be the fact that oh, we're giving up. It's gonna be the fact that where are the results? People are gonna start like blaming the army of being idle, shit like this. Like the Ukrainians, and they will probably blame the leadership. Like especially with how the media apparatus around Ukraine is built up right now. It's give the army what it needs and it'll do what it like has to. If a stalemate sets in for too long, people are gonna blame the leadership, and there might cause instability. Honestly, there is a major political incentive for the Ukrainians to go on the offensive, so they
Yeah, but
might.
I don't think it's domestic. Like you have, understandably, in Ukraine, basically massive siege mentality. It's normally they rally behind the leader,
Yeah,
even if they're losing, and even if it takes long. But mostly this is for the West, because in West you always have these people. You can hear them all the time. You can hear them when the Ukraine is on sweeping offensive about how. Well, the kind of the peaceniks, everything. We must stand down. Russia can never be
oh
defeated.
yeah,
Ukraine
that's
has never been lost.
BS.
Let's
That's
give
BS.
Russia what it wants. You know, I especially love the German one called Warwick,
Yeah.
and also the General Vard, who was a military advisor to Angela Merkel. This is a position that should be like career killing. As if I would be a manager in a McDonald's, I wouldn't let you flip the burgers there if that was your
Oh yeah,
portfolio.
I heard about the guy, like the NATO general who said that like this is what did he say?
Oh no, he's General Var. He used to be a Bundeswehr general, and he was a main advisor of Merkel, the military advisor. You know, Merkel, who was like the godsend to the Bundeswehr,
Yeah.
and he all the time he gets like every single prediction wrong about how Russia will roll over the Ukraine in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks. One day before the Russians withdrew from Kherson. This was, by the way, after they announced they are withdrawing from Kherson.
Hmm.
He went on rant in a national telly about how there's going to be a Stalingrad in the city, and next day the Russian troops were gone. Like, and yeah, he still has a prominence and he's still talking to the people. They give him a space, but he's like one of the many. So you have a lot of these people who are kind of waiting to be proven right. And if you see like front lines frozen for way too long and nothing is moving, and you have kind of the Verdun offensive when one side charges in, loses half the man, goes back, another side charges in, loses half the man, goes back, they will be gaining prominence. And so even for the Ukraine, it's kind of because they need to keep it escalatory even when it comes to the support. Uh, Now they managed to secure the IFVs and the MBTs. They will simply need more of them. They will need more of other platforms. So they also need the support from the West to gradually escalate and basically be changing the Ukrainian army kit from the
Yeah, yeah,
Eastern to Western to get better and better quality. And they cannot do it if the West itself becomes idle on the issue and will start naturally, as it always does, kind of a closing one eye to it and start focusing elsewhere. That's
yeah.
basically Russia is betting on.
Yeah, that's one of my worries is that like the Westerners, not the Ukrainians, are gonna get war weary. For the Ukrainians themselves, I think the Ukrainian public, like for them, either being pushed back is gonna harden their resolve. Being pushing forward is gonna harden their resolve. The only like thing that I think is gonna be more wearing on Ukrainian morale is gonna be like a stalemate. That's the main thing I think that might start wearing on them, but I think that's far off in the future. The main problem I think is like war weariness from Western leaders. You know, for example, if Biden doesn't win in 2024, stuff like that. You know, if there's a stalemate and Trump wins, it's fucked.
Yeah, yeah, I think the war will be over by then, but that's just my wild guess. But yeah, the thing is that's it's not like a Russian grandmaster 4D chess game. It's the only game
No,
they
no, no,
have.
no, no, no. The Russians are playing what cards they're dealt at the moment.
Yeah,
They're not.
and they have quite shit cards, and basically the
Yeah,
best card of all have is let the West do its own thing and just get bored of it. Just like it got in Syria, it invested in the insurgency in Syria, supporting it after a couple of years. One after another country just declared they couldn't give a fuck if they tried.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, all right. I think we basically
Yeah.
covered way more
So,
than
yeah.
Vuhledar, but I think we Vuhledar there's not much more to talk about, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, we will see you in the next couple of days, and but it's kind of it smells like a bait.
Yeah, I mean if they don't make like a foothold on the in the town itself in like some of the blocks in the town, I think after that it would be pointless to continue attacking there. If they take it, I guess that's something, but like I don't think it's gonna cause a wider collapse in the whole area as the Russians are hoping. Uh,
No, for the Russians, it would be if, the only like kind of the good thing would be they would manage somehow to secure the railway line that goes to Mariupol, and they can start on actually fixing it and getting it ready. But even then, they have to push a bit further. But the Vuhledar is a major roadblock on that.
yeah. All right. Thank you for talking to me. And at some point, we need to have other conversations. You know, I
Yeah, right.
I, I haven't asked that much about you, to be honest. Like, you have some kind of experience in the army, right?
Just a conscription. I wouldn't consider it that much.
That's all right. Uh,
I used to work at the. I like to keep this private, but it
of
was
course.
let's say one defense think tank for a while.
Okay.
I left a couple of years ago, and I've been working a private in kind of a semi-related manners. But I like mostly like kind of the my own post to speak for me,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nothing beside him.
Yeah, I mean, I have, I don't like, I don't have that great credentials to throw around anyway. Like,
Yeah.
if people get very angry at me, I can just go like and say, okay, like motherfucker, I've just done history. Like, shut the fuck up, leave me alone. Like,
I
I'm
mean, as
just,
far as Twitter is concerned, you're following a retard on a Twitter, so just expect those tricks. If you expect anything more, like that's on you. That's not on me.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I could just say that, like, motherfucker, why are you having this conversation with me? But honestly, like, I'm not unhappy with the kind of commentary that, like, I'm providing. Like, compared to the shit that the people that are way more educated than me are providing. Like, you've seen the kind of like, the absolute dredges that this war has like pulled out of the woodwork, right?
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
holy shit! I mean, not even counting the all the pro-Russian weirdos. Like even people that are commentating on like the Ukrainian side that know nothing. Like somehow these people had some career in the army and they don't understand anything about how this war, like how this war works. People that like keep comparing the war to Desert Storm. It's not like Desert Storm, motherfucker. Shut up.
Yeah,
Like this is
yeah,
not.
just every single time they forgot, like, oh, the Bradley took so many down Iraqi tanks. Like, yeah, no one's saying the Bradley isn't a good vehicle. It's a good fucking vehicle. But you had an United States Air Force just obliterating everything in front of the desert, like some kind of a rods of gold throwing from the skies. Is not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, people like that, people like fucking the tire guy. I keep forgetting his name.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Trent Telenko. Oh man, I will. I don't think he shouldn't live down the fact that like he thought that like a CGI buggy was tactical footage. he, and he tried to describe us the whole tactical situation about how the whole column of tanks got fucked by what was essentially, if you zoomed in, like a ZAZ like car with a fake rocket launcher strapped on it. Like, come
Yeah,
on, man.
that's and also the Chuck Pfeffer.
Yeah, Chuck Pfeffer.
Everything is
Tactical
Atacama
situation
driving.
report. This is what's happening right now. Like, didn't he
The
also?
guy actually was, at least he claims so, and as far as I know, he isn't lying about it. He was in Navy SEALs, and
Yeah.
it's still like, come on, man. He's looking at obviously SVB at attacking Kerch Breach, and he
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
going on about how that's hidden attackums that we all don't see because we haven't been hunting Bin Laden in Navy SEALs. Like, I'm sorry, man. What are you talking
Oh
about?
man, I think I got even angrier when he claimed that there was a major landing on the bank of
Oh
the
yeah, 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 that one,
Kherson.
yeah.
That was like the between where was it, between Nova Kakovka and Energodar, that there was like a major landing in this area. And
Yeah.
like I have to ask, like if you're any type, if you like, you need to have like 5-year-old strategy brain, like to understand that what are they gonna do if they land there? Like there is nothing, there's no cover, there's no way to supply yourself, there's no way to bring heavy weapons. Like,
Oh,
what
it's
the
easy. The United States Air Force will chop at the supplies while the United States Army
yeah,
will take its own motorized boat
yeah,
and
like holy
supply
shit.
the force of the strongest military on planet. Oh, right, that's not there. So,
Yeah,
it's kind of a fuck then.
incredible.
By the
Thomas.
way, if you want to have a fun, I don't read them anymore because I just
Mhm.
got. I also follow like a lot of pro-Russian channels. They actually are, well, you can call them evil if you want, but at least a lot of them are not idiotic. They at
Yeah,
least know a first thing about the military and everything like that. But like there's the most popular one is called Ribar,
right bar,
and
yeah.
these kind of analysis and prediction he gives, they put even the tire guy to the shame.
Mm.
Like he was giving he prides himself on he predicted Ukrainian offensive. Like motherfucker, you predicted everything, literally everything. I saw the most ridiculous plans
They
that
were
you ever
predicting a
think of.
major offensive from Okhrihiv
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
south
He
for a
was. He
while.
also drew a map and completely seed-rab about the operational plan of the Ukrainians before they managed to take the Kherson city,
Yeah,
how they're gonna land on the Kibun Spit
yeah.
and take an army. They managed to get there somehow and rush all the way to Armyansk to Crimea in order to cut them all off and just
What?
bullshit like that.
Yeah,
And
no,
every single post was claiming about, oh, the 72nd Brigade had a meeting with 13th Brigade and this is
no,
this
it's all
and this they
fanfic.
talked about.
That's
How would you know? Were you
they don't.
Vladivostok?
The thing with Rybar, or like Rybar, almost all of their predictions and like everything that they predict is like all fanfic. Almost everything that they talk about like supposedly internal or background information, it's all bullshit. Their maps, like out of a lot of a lot of of what is actually going on, like current maps, they're not the worst. There are worse maps that I've seen.
And they're
There's
far away from best.
but it's far away from the best. I think like from the like pro-Russian sources, the best map guy is Suryak, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, Suryak is okay. As from the Telegram, Saponenko has no, well, Gonzo. Yeah, he says it's bullshit, but at least he has people on the ground, so at least he knows what's going on there, and sometimes reports it less better or lesser. So there's that. The 13, the 13, he actually is in Ukraine. He's one of the VDV guys.
Hmm.
Uh,
These
Zapisky
are
Vetlana, he used to be a volunteer in the DNR during the war, but I think they shot off his leg, so he's kind of a pissed off. That was like years ago. So a couple like that. Some they know the small things. Girkin has his own contacts. You know, he's kind of a dooming, but then again, when he actually explains why he's dooming, he's not full of shit. He kind of understands the military situation.
Yeah. No, the thing is, Girkin may be a doomer, but he's a doomer with like some understanding of why he's dooming.
Yeah. And
like, it,
also,
like,
the guy is running on absolute crystallized spite. So I
yes,
think
that's
he
true.
actually wants the entire Kremlin to be shot. Like,
That is so true. I mean, that's the thing. Like with Girkin, like even if the situation is average, he wants to paint it as badly as possible. Because a lot of people say that the Ukrainian side have their own Girkin, which is like Julian Robke.
oh
Uh,
yeah, that guy.
the thing is, Julian Robke will doom without understanding anything about militaries. It's a different type of dooming. He sees any movement from the Russians, like, "Oh, guys, this is it. This is over." Like he sees like losses in the offensive in Kherson. Guys, it's over. It's failed. It's done. Like yeah, like
Yeah,
I was apprehensive about him. I thought that maybe like he's pro Ukraine, but he just doesn't know enough. And then like I saw some weird post he made, and like I like
I
roasted
think he
him.
genuinely is pro-Ukraine. He's just the combination of someone really being stupid and really having a massive ego,
Yeah.
and it just clashes together. One thing I will give it to his credit, he's good at geolocating.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think
He's
he
good at
has somebody
geolocating,
doing it
and if
for
he
him.
would stuck with that, he would be very good channel. But unfortunately, he doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he might also have people helping him with geolocations. I'm
Oh, yeah, could
pretty
be.
sure.
But he was geolocating for quite a lot of years, so I think he kind of learned it to himself.
I mean, he's blocked me now, so I don't see anything from him. I called Bill the rag in a quote tweet I quoted tweeted him. Uh,
I just have him muted because I cannot see his stuff being pushed to my timeline anymore. Just like
yeah,
nope.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes pro-Russian sources post him, so that's when I run into his posts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's well, can you blame them?
Yeah,
We are posting Girkin, so of course they're going to be posting Robke.
yeah. It's
They
understandable.
they also need their own entertainment, and Julian Robke is very happy to provide it.
All right. Okay, so we'll talk some other time. Of course, I have
Uh,
your contact on Twitter, and I'll probably wrap up with the people here, see what we have to talk about. I mean, I haven't talked about Iran yet, but I don't know enough right now, and I'll probably get Comrade on to have a full debate. I don't know
Yeah,
you.
I wasn't really. I just saw there's some explosion in Esfahan and a couple other places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I saw the claims about us being ballistic missiles. So, like, if there was the ballistic missiles that were kind of supposed to maybe sort of go to Russia to be used against the Ukraine, they were blown up. Great. If
Yeah.
it wasn't, like, I don't really care that much.
All right. I mean, I guess we'll see. I don't know if you know Comrade Robin Hood.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that follows me. He honestly, the amount of stuff he knows about about insurgencies, like his brain has everything in it. Like pretty much everything that has to do with Middle East and like other stuff. I
I would
highly
just say
recommend it.
just one thing about the Iran because this from I actually was in Iran. It was last time was 7 years ago, so okay, it's quite a while. But if you go to Esfahan, which is in central Iran, there's only one highway cross. Well, there's more, but there's like main highway going from Tehran in the north all the way to Shiraz in the south, which and goes through Esfahan. And right, that highway is going right directly to that. There's a massive military base, and I think there used to be or still is one of the research centers which used to be or is working on the Iran nuclear program. And as you are going through it, you can see on the right side just dotted landscape with anti-aircraft guns, and you are told very strictly and very firmly that under no circumstances you are to take pictures of anything while you are on that road, or you're gonna get fucked by ERGC. You're gonna get arrested. You're gonna be accused of being a spy, and you're in deep shit.
Yeah, no,
I think
nobody's
they hate
helping you.
that.
Like if that
Yeah,
happens, honestly, like you're done for.
yeah,
You don't want that shit on you. All right, it was a pleasure talking to you.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You
all
too.
right, see you later, man.
All right. See ya. Ciao.
Alright, cool convo. Check out Nikopols on Twitter. Actually, I should get his Twitter up. Give me a moment. He posts quite a bit, and if you follow me, you likely will have seen his posts. Give me a second. Let me turn that off. Alright. Let me pull his Twitter up so that we follow it. I mean, he has a few of them right now. Nikopol 5 and Nikopols. He has. I'll get the big one. There. Give him a follow. And let me turn on the screen. You can see which one I mean. Screen on. There. So Nikopols. And his other one is Nikopol 5. Either one, it's the same guy. There. So give him a follow. Alright. Enough of that. Bennett. I have no background in any education or Bennett, Jesus. I have no background in any education regarding military conflicts. Despite that, as a professional Twitch chatter, I feel entitled to have my opinion taken very seriously. I don't believe I can be wrong in anything, therefore I'm not willing to change my mind. If you disagree with me, you're either intellectually inferior to me or unironically evil. I love how like Bennett has never contributed anything of use to to any discussion or asked any questions. He's just here to see me. That's it. He's just here to thirst. That man is incredible. Ugh. Bennett. First one is main. All right, yeah. Do follow the first one. Even though it's a long ways off, wouldn't two squadrons of F-16 in Ukraine really not make that much of a difference, since everything is in Ukraine is following IADS principle on both sides? So yeah, air defenses from the Russian side are not nearly treated enough for F-16s to be considered seriously. Long-range missiles should come before F-16s. But, you know, training some pilots probably. But it would have to be quite a lot of them. Because, you know, the Russians not only have a superiority in numbers, but also, like, a superiority in mass quality. Like, their air force is just, like, better for just a couple of squadrons of F-16s to really make a difference. Depends on their kit. They come equipped with, especially harm. But if it doesn't come equipped with serious electronic warfare kit, I don't think jets would make a massive difference. Yeah, agreed. No need to call me out like this. What the fuck, man? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Bennett. I've noticed you haven't asked a single question regarding military matters. Not once. I see you. I see you. Oh, man. Thank God I got my electric shaver. I had forgotten it in Greece, and I got it sent in the mail, and I trimmed my beard. I fixed myself up a bit, you know? Alright. Is there any other questions we want to go through? We've spent 2 hours. Eventually we talked with Nikopol. It was very nice. Okay, what interesting questions I can ask. Who's gonna win? Oh, thanks, Bennett. That's great. I think the Ukrainians will win. There. You happy? I hope you are. Anyway. And more questions. Please, please, people. And then we're gonna raid somebody. Pog. Yes. True. True indeed. Maybe I should be deleting those. Delete. Delete. Really, really pog. Very pog. Yes. Thank you. Oh, and Sloyansk. Good, good, good. 2 Patriot batteries, not enough. I mean, there's something, but Ukraine needs to not run out of air defense. That's actually pretty important, because even if it's shit, the like and scared, the Russian Air Force, like if it doesn't have to face like major air defenses, they might become a serious problem again. You know, they might start running sorties and avoiding, like without losing aircraft in significant numbers, and they start like becoming the air artillery, and they're gonna like make Russian attacks easier. Okay. That's about it. That's about what I had to contribute for today. I hope you're happy with the stream chat. It was great. Let's see who we want to raid. Oh, and actually, let me end the recording here. I think we're good.